peeps! So today's art lesson we're going to be doing something inside because it's a little bit rainy outside at my place, so we're going to be doing some drawing. I've been talking to Mark about doing an art activity that might help you in the classroom. One of the things he suggested was drawing bodies. Now I believe some of you have done this last year, but we're just going to cover it again. The two main things that we are going to talk about when drawing bodies are shape and proportion. So shape you already know, because if I said to you draw a triangle or a rectangle or a square or a circle or an oval, you'd know what to do and you would draw that down. So that's something that you already know. It's kind of like reading. If you learn the alphabet when you're, say, 3 or 4 years old, maybe even younger, you know the letters, you know A, B, C, D, E, etc. But then it's later on that you learn to use those letters to make words like cat, hat, dog, etc. Simple words. So you're taking those shapes and you're turning them into something that has meaning. As you get older, you learn to take these letters and you make bigger words, more complicated words. You make sentences, you make paragraphs, you make essays. And it's the same with drawing. You can take basic shapes and you can change them and modify them, put them in different ways, and you can make more and more complicated drawings. So that's what we're going to be looking at today, as well as proportion, which I'm going to talk about a little bit later. An example of what I mean is, if I asked you to draw a girl when you were younger, you probably would have done something like this. You would have done a circle, and then you would have done a triangle, and then maybe some legs, which are just lines, and some arms. Okay, you might put some smiley face, something like that. So they are two basic shapes that you've turned into a simple drawing and added some extra detail in there. But as you get older, you tend to draw more complicated things. So if I asked you to draw a girl now, and I'd just like to clarify here, I'm not the best drawer. See Ellie about that, she's really good. I would probably draw something like this. So in this one, which I drew ahead of time because I needed to rub it out a lot, because that's what I do when I draw. You can see the particular shapes. So we have an egg shape here, we have almost a rectangle shape here, and then we have kind of a triangle shape here. It's like a quadrilateral shape, but you've got that little shape. There's little kind of quadrilateral shapes here, and V's, more triangles. So we've added all these basic shapes and changed them a little bit to get a more detailed drawing. You can see here that I've used very much a rectangle kind of shape, and same with the hands. I even kind of draw mitten-y type hands and then draw the fingers on just to make sure that it looks the right shape. Now also a guide on technique. A lot of people will be very confident when they draw, and they'll just draw like this, which is something that you do when you're younger. But when you're older, and not everybody draws like this, but my technique is to do light little lines. And you can see down here that there's lots of little lines and errors, and I've gone over it just to get the right shape, and that's what you do. And even for the face, I've drawn, okay, I can do it here because I'll show you. So that the face is kind of an egg shape. And then, rubber again. And then you kind of divide it in half. And that's the half side is where you put the eyes. We'll do that later. But I leave those lines on there just because I need that gauge for me to help me design my face and get everything just so. So that is about using the shapes. But now I want to talk to you about proportion. So proportion in this context is about whether everything is the right size to make it look realistic. So in this case, the head is the right size, the arms are not too long or too short, the legs are the right size, the body's the right length, and I will be teaching you, there's a particular formula to get this right so that you have the head and the body and the legs the right length. Sometimes in cartoons or in anime or in comic strips, they will exaggerate a certain feature. So for example, this cat that I've drawn here, it's got a huge head and huge eyes and a tiny little body and tail and stuff. You can still tell it's a cat, however, but they've exaggerated the size of the head. If this was in real life, the cat wouldn't be able to stand up. Its head would be too big. So in cartoons, it's okay to exaggerate these types of features. If you're doing realistic drawings, however, yeah, it's better to keep certain proportions. And because you're often drawing pictures of your family and things like that, or your friends, this is a good chance to learn what those proportions are, and so it makes it easier for you to learn how to draw. Okay, let's go. I'd like you to pause the video and go and get your resources. So what you need is a pencil, mine's a bit broken but it still works, a rubber and possibly a sharpener. You of course need some paper. If you have an art book, that would be perfect, but A4 paper will do fine. We're going to draw this together. So go and get those and I'll see you back here in a minute. Bye. Okie doke, here we go. So the first thing that you need to draw is an upside down egg shape. Let's try that now. Okay, oh, mine's not perfect, but there you go, an upside down egg shape. Then this is obviously going to be your head, and that's our first shape. Then we do kind of two little lines here that make your neck. Now, your shoulders are about as wide as your head. So you, with your fingers, kind of measure where the shoulders are going to go to, like this. There we go. So from the bottom of the neck to out there. Now we can change this, like these are looking quite wide, but we can change this as we go along. It's not set in stone. See how set in stone, I meant to say. See how I'm just doing lightly. Now, the next thing we do is figure out the length of the body. It's all got to be in proportion. So with a human, the head, or a realistic human, the head is the central point of measurement. So I take one head down to here, that's like the middle of the chest, a second head down to here, marking just about average. That is kind of going to be your like your waist, or just below your waist, more like your hips. So let's draw in lines. Now we taper in slightly because we have a waist in here, and we'll draw those in down to the hips. So draw on those, or the torso in. Now the arms, I guess the armpits are about 3/4 of the way to the edge of the shoulder. And then the arms can come down, they can go out whatever you like. But just so you know, the hands will end just below this point here, which is the torso bit. Thumbs are always in the middle, towards the body, not in the middle. I do mittens because they're kind of easier to get a nice shape with. So we'll mark that in there. That's where my end of my hand is going to be. The thumb is going to be pointing towards the body, and then we can do lines. Now, some people add in little elbow dents in here. You can add little dents, like change the thickness of the arm. Okay, so just to refresh, and then I'll get you to pause and catch up to me, is that we start with the head, which is the main shape, draw a little neck, and then you measure the head. So the head length, the torso length is 2 heads length make the torso. So 1, 2. So catch up that and get to the arms, and then we'll add the legs on in a second. So the legs are the length of the head and the torso together. So I measured that length and I do it a mark down to there. So now the legs I struggle with, but let's just go simply. So we'll do a kind of a dotted line down here. Oops, it's off the page a bit, and we'll move it up. And then you do your legs down. Now again, we can change the shape of them. Some people put a little kind of indent where your knee would be. So like the back side of your knee, and then down like that. All right, in the knee is about halfway, by the way, of this length. And then that's your thigh and down to your ankle. So notice it goes skinny down towards your ankle. I'll just make that neater. Now with the feet, if you're drawing feet like kind of out like this, it's the same length as your head. So that's a funny foot. It's like got a zipper on. It's a terrible foot. As I said, drawing is not my thing, but we'll give it a go. Okay, with this foot, I'm going to have it facing forward. So you can do it two ways. You can do it like that, like he's got a shoe on, or if he's going to be barefoot, he or she, you could do little circles that make the toes. Okay. There we go. So he's standing with his foot forward. I'll rub that out. That one just didn't come out well at all. And don't be afraid to make mistakes. As I said, I'm doing lightly. I'm coming back. That's legs a bit fat there. Might change that. Move up here. So again, the legs are the length of the head and the torso together. So legs equals head plus torso. So hopefully you've got something resembling this now. Take your time with it. I only want to see the drawing of everything in shape, but if you want to, you don't have to colour it or anything like that. And don't be disheartened if it doesn't turn out very well. I mean, you can tell that with mine, I need a lot more practice, and you might need some more practice. It might come really easily to you. So all I need to see, if you could just upload them onto the classroom, is just a drawing of everything in proportion. If you want to take the time to colour it and put clothes on it and add extra details, maybe put a Superman cape, whatever you like, there are lots of great videos online that you can give you extra pointers on how to do this. This is just to get you started. Next week, I hope that we will look at cartoon animals on the request of Rahani, who said she would like to learn how to draw animals better, particularly cartoon style animals. So that again comes back to doing shapes and proportion. So we'll have a look at that next week. Okay, bye.